Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 12 of Rannoch, our vanilla Boreal build. Hope you're having a wonderful day. There's something about this waterfront that's developing that is really enjoyable. I love just looking around this part of the city that we built a couple episodes ago. Extremely busy with public transport, two little roof terraces here as well. Really love the wall-to-wall buildings, they're very nice, aren't they? And then lots of public transport in between as well, of course. But today, the city, it demands industry, so I think we'll start the second of the specialised. So I mentioned in previous episodes that I would like forestry to reside on this little, I guess, peninsula sort of thing, isn't it? This big jut of land that comes out here, down toward the river, orientated against the highway. So I very much want this to function as like, these are the dense natural Rannoch forests that have now been farmed and are used for forestry purposes. So let's get stuck straight into this, shall we? So, because we don't have access to this road here, eventually this arterial will come out and a road will come down into the forestry. But of course I don't have that tile yet. We will try and lock it today because we're very close to that next population milestone, which will give us another tile. So we could possibly open it then, but I think even then we need 2 tiles there. Not sure what tile will pop next, maybe this one here, down in the bottom, and then we can move toward this space here. It's a lot to decide. But either way, for right now, I am going to do something incredibly illegal, just until I unlock that connection. So, until we have that point, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do that. That will just allow people to get back into out of this forestry area until we can give them a proper arterial connection. So, let's start with here. So, I'd like to set up a little slip ramp system that allows access into this industrial area. So I'm just going to meet up with some road guidelines. We'll also have another one straight up here as well. And then off this grid marking down here, I'm going to come make a little 2-unit curve. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side again as well. And hook that in. And then we can make this one just come back into the highway. Any point is okay. Ideally it would be that one, but it's fine if it doesn't like it. Eventually that node will go away anyway, and then we can hook in here, and this can be an entrance into our industrial area. And then let's bring this down along something like that, I think. Fabulous. So let's get this area painted out. It's going to be a big old chungus. We will lose some ore, but there's plenty of it around, so I don't think it's a major issue. I think I should might as well include this whole peninsula as well. And all the way up through here. And I might even extend a little bit of a branch of this region down here. There's generic industry if we need it, but we'll check on that. Cool. So let's first of all start extending some dirt roads up to where one day there will be an entrance into a non-existent arterial road yet. Now let's have a little look at what we can do here. So let's come into our forestry district. We'll of course place our main building. We'll have this just over here for right now. It's likely we'll relocate it as part of a design somewhere. And that gives us 3 very basic configurations, doesn't it? Cool. So, of course, we want all our trees. Let's go ahead and paint down some more, so it's a very dense resource. And we can have the forests of Rannoch occupying near the rivers here. And then, let's go ahead. So, I don't want the forestry placed directly on the slip road here, because this is going to be taking highway traffic. So, ideally, we'd like to create a local access road that comes in here, to eventually link up with a road that isn't going to be snapped onto the guidelines, and we can probably position this just directly next door to that slip road, I think. But for me, having these forestry plantations up against the highway is something we've done all the way back since Palaven, isn't it? Like, it's just a great design. I think it's kind of the origin of my city's orientation, isn't it? It's getting really precious about where our sort of main assets sit against a road. I think it makes a world of difference. Cool, so we've got more there, and we can probably squeeze in another one there as well. Again, eventually these will probably be replaced with the large plantations at some point, but they're not unlocked to level 4 or 5 anyway. So let's fill all of that up. That's going to give us some production. Of course, all of this wants to be conifer whilst we're playing in the Boreal theme. I think there's no other way, is there? To quote the Mandalorians, this is the way. Look at that already. Isn't there something just so wonderful about that? I think I could even possibly get involved in a little bit of forestry fence there as well. A fence we don't use overly often on the channel, but definitely one of the better fences, if you will. Which isn't something I thought I'd ever say. Only really applies to city skylines, that doesn't it? I think. Well, there we go. How precious is that? Very, very nice indeed. So we'll have that sat against our highway. That's going to give us a ton of production right off the bat, which is very nice. Let's have a look at our forestry area here, which we will name after a wonderful patron today, of course. We're going to name this the Jepson Logging Company after our wonderful patron, Daniel Jepson. Thank you for all your support, Daniel. Do appreciate it, mate. Thank you for continuing to enjoy relentless amounts of CS Vanilla. Cool. So let's continue to map out this area. So whilst we do have some process or some extraction here, I suppose, and what I would like to have a look at now is some processing. So I've got some ideas for this, to use the sawmills a little bit more creatively. So let's first of all just start off with one of them. It should be okay. So we want our sawmill right here. So I'm just going to place one sawmill there for right now. Okay, actually I'm going to switch it around. So what I really want to do here is try create just a little bit of a yard, kind of an open processing facility where, you know, logs are cut in this instance. So then I want to do a little bit of dirt road and place a second one down. I'm just going to have this maybe a tile offset and a slightly different position to the one next to it. Delete the road, and I think 3 units is actually enough to hold it. So we can do that there. That's going to be okay. Just going to deforest a little bit here as well where we don't need it. And then a pretty similar configuration for the next one, really. So let's have another road here. We'll place another sawmill there. Of course, this is going to provide tons of jobs, but also a lot of plain timber for the forestry area too. And then again, a similar process. Let's do another one here. And I really want this one kind of open to the yard. I think what we will do is even bring this one behind like that, obviously with a view to eventually delete that road. How about we have it there? And then we can bring a road behind it to kind of box in this facility. Now again, we can delete that. And then just bring up the road to where it needs it. And then with a little bit of dirt pathway here. And if you've got Surface Painter on the PC, save yourself the nodes and just use Surface Painter. I'd also be interested to know if you guys that enjoy the vanilla content on the channel would consider Surface Painter a bit of a vanilla quality of life, maybe. Maybe we can add Surface Painter into the series. Just for little instances like this, you know, it would help us save some nodes. But then the general premise being that as you kind of walk around here, right, it just looks like an open work yard. There's multiple barns, and of course it's all the same asset, but when you angle them differently, you just have a little bit of an open space that I think looks a little bit more organic. So I'm happy with that, I think. I think we'll run with it. And now we did paint out a regular area. Of course, want to give this the forestry specialization. So let's go ahead and do that. And then where we have these little spaces here, let's just do some little 2x2 industrial zones. I wouldn't mind having some regular forestry industry growing up in and around these buildings, just to help add to that vibe that we're trying to create. Perfect example right there, you know. Just a collection of props, which is massively helpful in vanilla. Really extends off the back of that asset, doesn't it? So we'll wait for those to grow up as well. And of course, they will receive their wood in time. Right, cool. So let's have a look at the area. Of course, it's going to need to tick over for its workers, and its resources will need to tick over as well. I did mention also placing some storage a little bit further down the highway. I wouldn't mind exploring that, because I think this is going to be the place for the furniture factory. I think we'll probably have it orientated here. And maybe we can even put some of the larger processing down here, like the pulp mills maybe. I wouldn't mind having kind of, maybe not in this particular build, but as a process or I guess a theme to explore in CS Vanilla would be to have kind of extraction in one area and then processing, say, a little bit further down the highway over by the first industrial area, which I definitely do want to rework. So we'll see anyway. But either way, I think we're getting some more extraction assets up and against the highway here. And then whilst it does, I will wait for worker levels to tick over and whatnot. And I'll see you at level 2. And fabulous. There is level 2 where we get the biomass pellet plant, the furniture factory, which of course we'll take a look at as well. Sawdust storage, forestry workers barracks, and the sapling fields, which are always welcome, aren't they? May even turn out these for some saplings actually. Maybe we'll have a little look at that. Let's see if we can do that first. Let's delete these first extractors and maybe see if we prefer the sapling fields front and center. And then it's like the rows behind them are, you know, ready to be harvested or are growing. I think we'll change them all to the greenhouse look. Oh, yes. God, that takes me back. Isn't there something so soothing about that view? Sapling fields next to Vanilla Highway. That takes me back to COVID lockdowns. that exact view. So we'll have them. We'll switch them out as and where we need them, but otherwise, let's get on with a little bit of processing, shall we? So we need quite a few more jobs and quite a bit more extracted wood to move forward. So if we're going to keep this as our processing center, let's dive into the next bit of processing, which is going to be the biomass pellet plant. Have a look at these. So again, real big chunguses, aren't they? They really are. Look at all this as well that we got on over here. Again, just to kind of reinforce how cool this extra prop work is. So all these are buildings, you know. There's 4 people that work here, apparently, in this pile of wood. And there's another 3 people that work over here. So real big benefit for vanilla detailing, if you, especially with that find it, really blending in those initial sort of very generic vanilla industries into industries DLC can be a huge help. There's a moose over there. Looks like the moose is loose about this forest industry. But there's something very haunting about an untextured moose, isn't there? There he goes. There he goes. Right. Well, if the bears are vegan and the deers are carnivorous, what does that make the moose? Pescatarian, perhaps? Now, to let me know what dietary requirements the moose follows. There's another one down there as well. Is he a different colour to the other one? Is there different coloured moose across the map? He definitely is a different colour, isn't he? I know we're getting distracted here, but after 9 years of Cities Vanilla, I now come to realise that there are different coloured moose. Who knew? Who knew? Right, so anyway, let's get on with it. Spending too much time talking about the moose. What's the plural of moose? Is it mice? Possibly. Anyway, so carrying on with this design here, I would love to have this building kind of exposed to this inner yard. So I definitely want to save the zoning here because that's part of my detailing. But we can break this open and then let's hook that into the main road as well. And let's see, could we actually let's place it here and then we'll look to delete the roads around it. So I want that dirt. Yeah, that's really what I'm after there. So let's have that on there. Then we can delete that. And because the road is still, of course, next to it, it'll work. And then obviously I don't want to delete this road here because it's helping to keep these guys zoned up, which is definitely part of my aesthetic, I think. I guess maybe we could even do this one step closer. Yes, that is exactly what I was wanting to happen. Bring that back up, make sure we rezone that forestry as well before it disappears. Yes, absolutely perfect. So now, again, just to reinforce that kind of big open processing yard, as we walk through this space, we walk through this bit, and then you kind of come into this bit, you know, so it all stitches together. It's all very nice, isn't it? Very cool. I'm happy with that. So that's going to start producing paper for us. Now, paper, if I remember rightly, isn't a massively popular product across the factories. Furniture wants it. Maybe it is quite popular, actually. Maybe there's more factories than use it now, I remember. Which is fine. So maybe we do 2 biomass plants. Don't think it's that the question, is it? C, I wouldn't mind having it backed up against there. Just move some roads. Maybe we can have one directly adjacent. Yeah, I think we'll do that. And then we'll kind of call a stop to this area here, I think, with processing. This can be kind of one complete processing yard, if you like. Yeah, I really like that configuration. What else did we unlock at that level? We also unlocked some small log yards, which we absolutely do need to place because we want to be storing this stuff. A prime example here of people whinging for resources. Oh, would you look at that? We've encompassed one of the moose and the tofu berries back. We did actually have a last episode to name the tofu bear, so we will. But I don't think he's going to survive for much longer around here anyway. And then I think in the corners of this facility here, we'll also explore some more of that generic forest industry to appear. As long as the building complements exactly what's going on, I'm going to be pretty happy with it. And, I mean, that's pretty much perfect, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Yes, please. I'll have that little 4x4, and I might even remove the zoning off of this one, just to try and generate some more space in here for that generic industry to grow. Make them historical as they come in. Hopefully not going to be too offensive. Oh, that one might be. Are you in the district, actually? Yeah, you are. You are. Yeah, okay. That one's pushing it a little bit, but the plain timber stacks out the bottom are a vibe, aren't they? Now, there is obviously a significant demand for more resources, so why don't we see if we can set up a bit of a sapling area? So I think I wouldn't mind having the sapling area set up a little bit further away from the main processing and growing bit. Particularly against the rail network here is really where I'm looking at. Why don't we draw a road down so we know we're 90 degrees perfectly off that. And then we'll just bring out, let's say, this one there. We can delete that, now we know where we are. And then we'll just bring this down up against the waterfront. And let's, for right now, just find a place where it can go in. Look into the wider forestry road. I'm also going to do as well, we'll do it more during our detailing time, that's what I'm thinking. All these forestry roads will be cut through very dense Rannoch forest, so you're kind of getting this vibe when you're down, like almost impenetrable forest as you look and drive down these rural country roads out to a rural logging site. And would you look at that view? I know like CS2 is getting better these days and graphics mods are starting to help that game look better, but isn't CS1 vanilla just so charming in its visual? Super good looking game, especially because it's 9 years old as well. Crazy, isn't it? Love it. Anyway, sapling fields. Let's do these. So these guys, of course, they're going to want resources underneath them, so let's make sure we provide that. And then we'll have zoning actually appear back on our roads, that would be helpful. So we'll use that as our end. I'm hoping here, as we place in a number of sapling fields, I think we'll do batches of 3 of them. I think it seems pretty sensible, doesn't it? And then we'll have another set just behind those. Cool. So as those commuters heading out of Sherry are passing by here, you kind of get a bit of a glimpse of industry. You know that the sapling fields out here preparing wood to replace what is harvested. And you can just see that kind of industrial processing going on in the background there as well. So I think I'm really going to enjoy the orientation up against the rail. Be a very nice view. And I guess really it depends how much worker space that is going to provide. Of course, don't forget, if you're ever stuck for worker demand, you can spam extraction assets in industry areas. Even without industrial demand, and you'll still get workers if you need to hit those next levels, so don't forget about that if you need to. Yeah, let's just hook all frames in where we can. I think I'm going to be happy with that. And we should tick over there to 350 workers. We are still steadily climbing. Oh, as I said, that it starts to fall, of course. And then the last thing we unlocked really was the log yards, but I think I'll wait until we get the large log yard to do anything else with that one. Either way, let's get back, make a coffee, and then we'll be back at level 3. And that is level 3, which isn't massively exciting for forestry. We get the printing press, which we won't be using yet. That'll definitely go in a dedicated factory area. The medium tree plantation, which we could switch out for some of the smaller ones now. And then we do get the large log yard as well. So we could possibly switch these out here for the medium tree plantations. We've now perfectly filled 2 squares, so we can have 2 less buildings. Also, let's make sure that they are forestry. What's the worker ratio there, actually? 20 workers, yeah, so it's a straight up 1-to-2 ratio, isn't it? Yeah, it's just double. That's fine. So we'll switch them out. And then with the log yards, I mentioned I wouldn't mind having... I mean, what does the factory want? Can we have a look here? Let's have a little check, shall we? So he just wants both plain timber and paper. So I reckon we could extend this forestry area down to our initial suburb over here to rip out some of this generic industry. Now, I wouldn't mind removing a bit of industry because these roads, they won't take much more. Like, I'm really happy to see a busy arterial. I love seeing traffic stop and build up at lights and then pass on, but this is about at its limit now, so we want to be careful here. So I reckon actually removing a little bit of this generic industry in favour of a factory might be the better way to go. And let's have a look at playing with an orientation of a factory here. So, of course, right up against the highway is the order of the day. And then let's place this, again, the wood vision has to be against the highway. Is there any other way to use this asset? Well, the Orchid Bay did use this asset very nicely, if I do say so myself. So you can see the wood vision through the trees, as it turns out. I will stop using that joke one day. I think I've said that every single time we place this building. But very nice, right? It's an obvious big bit of industry here. You see this so often, kind of big industrial processing units right by highways like this. Very nice indeed, isn't it? So I'm happy with that. I like it, but it's definitely not done. So I'd love to extend the Jepson Forestry down here, just to give it a little bit of local processing. So let's grab the industry area. And we want the Jepson Logging Company just to snake its way over here. And then we'll just paint this out to fill this little square over this way. And of course delete that all the way. Wonderful. And now we can possibly place in some assets that will help us blend in the factory. If we can find it, here we go. So let's come back into forestry. So we could give it a sawmill, which of course will allow the factory to produce its own plain timber right next door. And then we could put a biomass plant down here, but I think that's maybe a little bit too forestry for here. So why don't we just do a warehouse in here instead? Let's see where we can maybe squeeze this in. We can get the warehouse maybe right up against the road there, although not putting into the terrain like that because that makes it horrendous. It's not too bad. Can we stick airport aprons around that? I wouldn't mind having maybe a bit more concrete surface. Yeah, it won't collide. Just as maybe like a bit of a sort of, you know, an area where heavy goods vehicles can pull up next to the warehouse. As such, like that. We can accentuate that vibe with some fencing as well come the time lapse. And then you will store paper, which is what we need, of course. And then we can also feed the sawmill with a log yard as well. Large might be a little large for here. Oh no, turns out we can put it in actually. It turns out we can get it in. Oh, there's little props at the back. Shame we never got the outhouse prop, isn't it? That would have been great, that. But we can have our log yard there, and then of course this is all extendable with that forestry fence, so we can kind of box this in as one area once we're happy with the connections. And I think I will keep them separate actually. Like it is kind of a separate industry. And then we'll just have our forestry fence come back up and around. So it's kind of the whole point of separating the site here is like this little processing site is part of the Jepson Forestry industry. It's just a different site of it, if you like. Is the vibe we're trying to go for here. Cool. So this will pull a load of traffic while it fills up. But once it does fill up, it should give us a pretty nice, just little mini industry area by the highway there. So I'll be happy with that. And of course that very small bit of industry over there will also contribute to an eventual final level as well. And then I reckon we're probably going to need some more extraction fields here as well to hit that next level. So I think we'll do another row of sapling fields, again with a view to change these things out for larger sapling fields once we do unlock them, which I think is at level 4 of the forestry. Cool. And that should see us through to level 4. So I'll see you at level 4. And wonderful, this brings us up to level 4, which gives us the engineered wood plant, the soft paper factory, wood chip storage, forestry maintenance building, and a large sapling field. So we won't use the soft paper factory for a long time yet. That will go in a real dense industrial area. But we can put in the wood plant, sapling field, and the maintenance building here too. On a related note, the tofu bear has already despawned and been replaced with 2 other bears. This is definitely a hotspot for animal spawns, so I would do my best to preserve this square. It'd be a shame to see them stop, isn't it? I actually tweeted an image about this yesterday, about how, kind of, what a powerful image, Bear's natural home is being turned into plain timber, so the people of Rannoch can enjoy office furniture. What a tragic story. Either way, we can replace these sapling fields now for their larger brethren. I'm pretty sure these have also got a slightly different aesthetic too, haven't they? Yeah. Although I do say I do like the greenhouse one. I think the cover in there, like they're just being watered via an automatic irrigation system, is too much to refuse. And do you know what we could do here actually? Let's just have a little look at this. Why don't we try spin everybody around? Also replace these small ones with large too. I'm actually a tile too short there, aren't I? Everyone needs to move up a tiny bit. Yeah, I think I prefer that configuration. One not having the greenhouse on it. Just so we get a slightly different aesthetic here. You can really see the pots on that one, can't you? And again, I suppose you can see them there as well. But a little bit more of an interesting configuration with the little outhouses in there, isn't it? We're happy with those. Cool. So then we have the forestry maintenance building, which increases the storage capacity of industrial buildings by 5%. You can flip that around onto the other side, I think, actually. Yeah, that way there. And then I love this to be associated with the engineered wood plants as well. So let's take one of those out. To remind myself of how this asset looks. Yeah, pretty tasty. So I think, again, I really love to open this back end of the asset out. So why don't we try and spin it around toward the front of the wood plant? So we use a very similar trick again. Let's bring an industrial road straight down and behind. And something like that is really what I want. Now, of course, that'll lose its connection. Maybe we can just have the connection up until where the car parking is. And then we can really open up this yard here with another little dirt path there, maybe. Cool. And then maybe we can bring in some trees around here too. Let's do some little boreal pines, maybe. I think I'll be happy with that. Cool. So again, just helps kind of associate one building with another. Of course, it's going to be producing plain timber for us at 90 workers. And I guess, is it a pretty similar footprint to a sawmill? I think they're slightly bigger, aren't they? Yeah, I was thinking maybe we could replace one of the sawmills out, but I think it'd probably change the landscape of that yard quite significantly, wouldn't it? And that then leaves us with an enormous production deficit to get to level 5. And then we also have big worker demands. But again, we'll use that trick of spamming the extraction buildings to get to level 5. Because we won't have the capacity, I think, of 800 workers. So we'll see at level 5 as well. What I wouldn't mind doing here is doing a little bit of terraforming just to allow this dirt road to cross the rails. So let's grab this height here. And then we'll push it up around the bottom of the tracks. And then we can use this layer to cross into the forestry area, because of course this will need road access one day. So let's eye up where it's going to go. If we can go... Yes, the road's going to come this way probably. Something in and around that line there. We're not really clipping the power lines there, are we? So the continuity police should be okay with that one, I think. And then we'll just come down on a little curve like that. That should be okay. And we'll just extend this area out. Create some kind of natural slope around the terrain. I feel like I praised Orchid Bay's terrain so much in the 100k special, if you managed to watch that. But I think the benefit of having such a flat space like Rannoch has, because a lot of this is just super flat land, which can be quite intimidating to build on in CS, because you just think, how am I going to fill that space? But it does allow us to do our own terraforming, to create our own little hills and bumps like we are doing now, kind of intermingling all these little rural networks together, you know? I think it can be just as fun, for the most part anyway. Cool, that can go down, and then eventually you will link in to somewhere. Is there a temporary road we can give you now? I guess we could do that. just send it straight across. Oh god, that would look horrendous though, wouldn't it? Yeah, well, we might just do it. We might just do it. Please ignore this. This is not a permanent solution by any means. But it will take a little bit of the pressure off of here, I imagine anyway. Maybe the AI will still come this way because highway roads are so much faster than taking this route, but I guess we'll see. But either way, I'll see you at level 5. And fantastic, that takes us to level 5. I've actually forgot there was 3 factories associated with Forestry. But the building we're really interested in here is Pulp Mill, and we actually didn't even need to spam extractors either. We ended up hitting 845 workers with the current configuration, which is quite handy. So this will be the last asset before our main detailing time-lapse, and definitely the biggest, most impressive one of the forestry area, isn't it? So I think with the inclusion of the pulp mill, I'd definitely like to have it kind of backing onto this existing production area. So why don't we try, see if we can fit it in somewhere around here. So just as a natural extension of that current production facility. Really amps up the industrial vibe, doesn't it, the pulp mill? Definitely one of the best looking industrial assets there is in the entire game, I think. I really love this building. To have it kind of dominating the production area like that, I think I'm pretty happy. How does that affect our view from the highway? I'm quite interested. You can see it over here. Should create a bit more of an industrial skyline from further back as well. Yeah, I like that you can see those smokestacks just popping up through the forest there. It's a real kind of, the word we're looking for. Sightline, that isn't it? And of course, eventually we will also have our big arterial bundle flowing across here as well, probably passing right by the forestry. So one day that'll have a very cool view from that as well. I wouldn't even mind just testing that out now. We're not going to build it now because we've no need for that infrastructure, but I guess we can see what it's going to look like. So it's going to be an amalgamation of road, cycling, trams and metro, most of which of those can be amalgamated into one network. So if we were to take our cycling tram road, for example, let's bring this up on a 9-step elevation is what it'll probably end up being. And then if this bridge is going to span, so that'll be the road bridge, and then of course we'll also have our elevated metro bridge as well, which I think I'm going to run slightly higher than the road when we come to do it. I've also not decided whether or not we're going to run cycling as a separate network, which I know is going to be more node intensive, but I definitely think it'd be safer, probably. So our arterial bundle will probably end up looking something like that. Or we could also split the tram from the road, and then let's say, for example, we have the tram line running up next door to what of course would be an elevated road couplet system, and then we can then have the metro next to the tram, which will give us kind of all width arterial bundle in a bridge that crosses the delta into the new area, which now I'm seeing it visualized is super cool. So one day those big arterial bundles will pass right by the forestry area, which will have a very, very cool view, I think, won't it? But that project is a little bit a ways away yet. Let's see, how far are we from that? Let's have a little look. Of course, we're going to up a new tile soon as well, so that'll really open up a different part of the map here. But there's still a lot of space to fill over here yet. And over here. And over here. So we can delay the arterial bundle project for as long as we need. But either way, that does set up a good detailing time lapse for today. Just want to bring the forestry fence around and tidy up any trees that are still lingering and bring that very dense Rannoch forest. So it really looks like this forestry production site is nestled within a kind of very dense natural forest, if you like. It's kind of been erected where they've already removed some forest. So let's get on with some detailing, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, let's have a little detailing review, shall we? So I absolutely love how this forestry sits against the highway. This was definitely the vision of the build when we started. All this industrial infrastructure pinned up against the main road. Just my favourite thing to do, for some reason. Really not sure why, but very much enjoy it regardless. Either way, we'll head down into the area, which has all been fenced off and overgrown now. Immediately as we come into the area, there's a big empty space, and we keep getting tons of animal spawns in here. There's moose, there's wolves, I guess, and lots of bears as well. So I'm a bit reluctant to touch it. I think we'll leave this as it is. Added in another maintenance building next door, which backs onto the engineered wood plant. And the whole island here has been super densely forested, so you really get that impression that this facility is kind of, you know, sat in the natural Rannoch forests here that run through the delta. Super cool. Heading back through, of course, we had a big configuration in the episode. I hope now you can see the benefit of that. We can see that zoned industry there. You know, from all these perspectives, the whole facility and complex just flows into one another. You can walk through into this yard, which takes you into the biomass plant. Unfortunately, we are without Bob, and if you do have Bob, you could remove these two fences to really blend this together, as it all pieces into the same yard. I reckon even actually you could do some airport apron there, remove the fences, and you've achieved the same thing, haven't you? Just by having all this industrial infrastructure next to each other. Very nice indeed. Of course, there's a log yard over here as well, next to some soda storage, just so all these processing buildings have resources nearby they can pull from, if they need to. Some parking here for people at work at the massive industrial complex up here, of course. Obviously they do still park on the roads, but not a lot we can do about that. And then we do have all our little scattered zoned industries over here for that prop work, which is a tremendous amount of fun, isn't it? Really like how all this came out. And then more forest over here. There's also more forestry in these areas too, which is always very much appreciated. Same thing over here as well. And then this backs onto the mass sapling field over here, which has been fenced off up and against that rail line, which again maintains a real nice view just to that big industrial complex. Always a nice sight line to respect, isn't it? There's more trains coming to the Rannoch system here. Very nice indeed. Let's have a look how those lines are doing now, actually. Of course, they're running through to an intercity connection these days. This one's fairly busy. I think that was an intercity train, wasn't it? This should be the line here. Yeah, it's okay. Still pretty busy. One's getting quite a bit of nice use, isn't it? Walking out the back of the station there. Yes, boys. And then we should have another one nice and busy over here as well. Yeah, tons of people walking out here. Look at that. Yes, please. So good. I love that you can see the refinery towers from here as well. I don't think you're able to see the skyline from this point, but you can, which is very nice. Even to see the pulp mill towers from here as well. Yes, please, everyone. Yes, please. Anyway, so I think that's pretty much it, really. Over here, it also dropped in a little entranceway, moved the main building further down the road. So, you know, as you arrive at the forestry area, either for deliveries, work, or some other miscellaneous reason, there's parking next door to the main building, should you need to drop off papers or retrieve papers, etc. And then pathways link everyone through together, a little pathway through what remains of the forest before it was developed. And it's a pretty cool facility. I'm really happy with it. Nice little unique shape. Occupies a very unique bit of land against a nice bit of highway action too. Also upgraded the roads as well, which I hadn't mentioned. Which is helping keeping everyone moving. And then over by the little orbital site here, we do have some little prop work just pinned up against the edge of the warehouse here, which I think is quite nice. Just a sensible use of find it wherever we need to, right? Just some nice stacks. If you got to move it, you can start stacking these up. Done similar things in Dacia if you followed that series. Our log yard is over here next to the wood vision, which then blends onto the sawmill at the back of the factory, which then is all boxed off with some airport apron around it as well, just to create a little site. And of course, wood vision is always welcome from the highway, isn't it? The roads around here, with the addition of the industrial traffic, are right on the verge of breaking, I think. It's extremely busy, this road. It's definitely in need of some more arterial support running to this side of the map so we can hook in all these dead networks over here that are all waiting to just alleviate the pressure off of this main road that runs right through the city and will eventually run into downtown, won't it? So once that downtown's in, it's only going to get busier. So possible new highway connection there. Let's have a look at some tiles here, because we're very close to that next tile now. In fact, what I probably will do is zone up some residential here for next episode, just so we can pop that tile right at the start. And it will definitely get a new highway intersection configured here. Some new arterial supports running this side of the motorway as well, because this is just so busy, it will not take much more. So we'll definitely try and look to take the pressure off of that main road going forward, I think. And can't wait to get that arterial bundle into. It was nice to preview that today, wasn't it? But otherwise, guys, that will do it for today. Let's thank you all so much indeed for watching. If you have enjoyed it, likes, comments and shares below always help the channel to grow. And a massive shout out to all the patrons that support the channel, with a special roll call to the legends that are Louis Adlam and oh hey Casino. Glad to get involved in that. There are links down below, of course, alongside Instant Gaming, which also helps support the channel. Really loving Rannoch. Forestry, definitely one of the harder builds to detail, I think, just because it's such a natural industry, isn't it? Kind of cutting down the forest. It's all dirt and mud and wood, which is a vibe you have to kind of stick really closely toward the dirt roads, I think, in CS Vanilla. But either way, we will remove these dirt roads on the highway once we have the rest of the arterial infrastructure around to support this industrial area. It is kind of very much on the peripheral edge and boundary of our current tileage, so we will be able to support it with proper road hierarchy one day, but that is a little bit of ways away yet. Don't forget, you can also enjoy early access to Rannoch via the Patreon as well, should you be interested in that. Otherwise, do enjoy today's cinematics, but I'll show up and leave it there. Let's thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.